Hi guys, how are you? We're fighting light. The sun's going down. Hello guys, how are you? Today we are doing the mid-year freakout tag, and it has come to my realization that I cannot do a mid-year freakout without acknowledging the fact that I have not done a wrap-up at all this year. Like, you guys have literally heard basically nothing about me reading books. The first thing I want to do so that we can all get acquainted and get real cute is I will literally be speed running every single book I read this year in order with no other information other than the name of the book and my rating. So that's gonna be the first thing. Okay, we're starting off this speed run with the book I read literally finished at 1 a.m. I was trying to make it to fit it into 2021, but it did not work. The first book I read this year at 1 a.m. was Memorial by Brian Washington. I gave this book a 3.5 or 4 out of 5. Then next, I was getting books off my TBR that I had just DNF'd throughout the year, and I read This Time Next Year by Sophie Kelsons. I think that's how you say her last name. This book is very good. It's very well-rounded. I gave it 3 stars, but this is someone's 5 out of 5, and I can fully respect that. The next book I read was a children's book that I just picked up at Barnes & Noble, and that was Eyes That Kiss in the Corner. I gave it a 5 out of 5. And then also at a Barnes & Noble, I read Who the F Are You, and it was really good, really great. Again, another 5 out of 5. And then I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy, the start of the Off-Campus series. I didn't even know that this series was popular when I started it. I just knew that Steph Borher really likes this book and like loves like the whole series in general. I was really like, as a human being, I refuse to buy a book with a poom poom on the cover. But then I did, and I don't regret it. This was a 4 out of 5. The Mistake, number 2 in the Off-Campus series, I gave a 3.5. Because You're Mine, my first ever mafia romance, I gave a 3.5. Then I read the Maid series, number 1, The Sweetest Oblivion. I didn't rate it on Goodreads because Danielle Laurie is a racist, and I gave it a 3.5. Then I read the second book, The Maddest Obsession, which I read and gave 5 stars. Very good. And then, like, I was in my mafia era, y'all. In January, I read 12 books, and it was because mafia books. I read mafia books in under 48 hours. They are just so good to me. I love them so much. I started the Bound in Blood Mafia Chronicles series by Cora Riley, and I read the first one, which I gave a 3.25 on the first read, and then after reading more books in the series, I think I've read 5 now, I have changed my rating to a 4. Because just in hindsight, in context with how the character holds up the rest of the series, I can't blame her for being annoying, so I had to give her grace. Luca Vitiello, the number 0, which is basically the first book but in the guy's perspective and his backstory as well, I gave a 4-star immediately. I loved it so much more than the first. I went through it like that. It was so good. And then I read book 6 in the series. I was not going in order, y'all. You just had to be there. You had to be there, bruh. I love this series. I gave it a 5 out of 5, book 6. And then I read Ring Shout, gave it a 5 out of 5. Insanely amazing, I said on Goodreads. I read Hair Love, children's book, gave it 5 out of 5. Then I read Leave the World Behind, my first mystery thriller of the year, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was Kayla's recommendation, and I ate it up. And then I read Razor Blade Tears with the Literally Dead book club, gave that a 4 out of 5. Then I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this over spring break, so in March, and I tabbed it, but she's a 4.5 out of 5. Generally, in the scope of all romances ever, this is forgettable. Like, when we talk about, oh, was this a good romance? Yes. Was it amazing? Did it change your life? Did it change my life? No. But did it accomplish what Ali Hazelwood set out to do when she was writing a romance or fan fiction? Absolutely. So in that case, yeah, she did it. 4.5 out of 5. And then I read the book that wrecked my world this year, The Viscount Who Loved Me, book 2 in the Bridgerton series. I did not read book 1, but I did read the second one because I was super excited, and I read it and I loved it immediately. I gave it like a 10 out of 5, and let me tell you why. It had 2 epilogues. Loved that, loved that, loved that. I loved it so much, I finished it at 4 a.m. I restarted it at 7 a.m. So I actually read this book twice. So that counts as 2 books of the 39 books I've read this year. Of the 39 or 40 books I read this year, this counts as 2 because it was a reread immediately after. I loved it so much. The Viscount Who Loved Me, 5 out of 5. However, I do want to say, if you've already watched Bridgerton season 2, like I have, Bridgerton season 2 was amazing. Do not expect amazingness from that book. So I was actually so surprised that they were living, laughing, and loving in the book. Then I watched the show and I was on the edge of my seat like, oh, I wasn't expecting any of this, which is why honestly on Goodreads I brought the rating down one, because I was like, damn, where was the drama, where was the intrigue in the book, because the show was so good in that regard. But yes, I gave The Viscount Who Loved Me 5 out of 5, and I read it twice. And then on a plane back to college after spring break, I read Arsenic and Adobo, which is a cozy small town mystery. Don't know if I'm gonna keep on with the series, but I think I will. It was very fun. Okay, you guys, we're losing daylight. Daylight, 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 daylight. Okay, we're losing daylight by Taylor Swift, and I need to keep going. Change Things by Amanda Gorman, the children's book I read, gave a 5 out of 5. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, which I also gave a 5 out of 5. It was great. Another book that rocked my world this year. Then I read The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of the Great Migration, gave a 5 out of 5. This is a really good book. If you have not read it and you need a good book on Black history, that one was really good. It took me 2 months. It's like 500 pages, but it's great. Longest audiobook I've ever read. And then I went back to the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles and I read book 2, which I gave a 3 out of 5, but I actually really like. It's still a 3, but it's very rereadable, I would say. I like it. Bound by Hatred, book 3, I gave a 3 out of 5 as well. I don't like it as much as Bound by Duty, but it is the more likable one of the two. Like, in the general consensus of the fandom, people will definitely like Bound by Hatred more than Bound by Duty, because let me just give you a deep dive into this Mafia series. After I read those two, I read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which I gave a 5 out of freaking 5. It was amazing. It was love. After reading all 4 Heartstoppers, that should have finally settled in why Alice Oseman has the hype and they always will. However, reading Radio Silence, yeah, she broke me apart, ate me up, and chewed me out. Then I read Death Note Volume 2, which I gave a 4 out of 5. And then after that, promptly after, I read Death Note Volume 3. Now, you see how there's a 2? In the Black edition, it's 2 volumes in one book. So this is volumes 3 and 4. So that's why I didn't bring up the picture, okay? Volume 3, I give a 5 out of 5. So insane, so great. I am pacing myself with the series, so I will be reading volume 4 by the end of the summer. And I'm very excited. I'm going to be buying volume 3 when I get to college, and I'll read it there. Ugh. Might have a little reading vlog moment, babe. But yes, Death Note Volume 3 of the manga, not the Black edition. I gave a 5 out of 5. Amazing. Loved it. And then I read Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. Amazing. Loved it so much. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And it is in my Omari and the Night Brothers reading vlog. And then I read Felix Ever After by Kason Calendar. 5 out of 5. I just ate that up. I loved it so much. Omari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, which I gave it a 5 out of 5. Reading vlog available now. And then in that same reading vlog and in the same day, I finished Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, my first Murakami. I loved it so much. I don't even know how to describe this or pitch it to other people, but it's amazing. I'm officially Murakami stan, and I want to read all of his other books. Insane writing, insane story, big trigger warning for death and suicide and mental illness, but I don't know, I love this so much. Oh my gosh. And then I finished the Maid series by Danielle Laurie. I read The Darkest Temptation, which I gave 3 stars. And then I read Dad on Pills, Fatherhood and Mental Illness by Chris Gethard. Really good, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. And then I read One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. I literally quoted Taylor Swift in the Goodreads review, so let's not all go look that up. But yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Really loved it. Maybe it's gonna be featured in a video. And then I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I gave a 4 out of 5. And it is featured in its own reading vlog, so go watch that now. Then I read The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Junauda Petrus, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. Absolutely insane, loved it. And then I read the most hype book to end all books, The Song of Achilles. I'm not even gonna say anything. I need you guys to see this. Do you guys see the amount of tabs? I will simply flip. Yeah, so she was devoured and the book will never be the same. I loved her. I will never be the same. Don't make me quote State of Grace by Taylor Swift. I never saw it coming. What is going on, y'all? 5 out of 5 reading vlog coming soon. Oh, I actually lied. I don't know why I just flipped my memory on the worst book I read this year, which was Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. And here's the thing, this isn't even gonna be my Colleen Hoover swear-off book, because Steph Borher, who is a Colleen Hoover stan and who I have taken recommendations from before and liked. Like, I'm not gonna discredit all her recommendations. She has to like Colleen Hoover for a reason. That book was not for me, and I should have known because she doesn't even like that one. So makes sense, makes sense. Colleen Hoover is not dead to me. I will listen. I will read another book by her. She actually has so many interesting premises, so I will read them even if I hate all of them. But that one, I really thought I was gonna connect with it. I didn't, babe. My average rating for the year so far is this. How fun, how fun, how cute. So I'm having a really good reading year. A really good. Actually, it might be higher. Hola, chiques. ¿Cómo estáis? As you can tell, the video is over, but this video was meant to be the mid-year freakout. So what's happening is that, remember that little fight with light I mentioned? I didn't win it. The sun went down, but I decided to keep filming. That footage will never see the light of day. It is so chaotic. So what's happening is I'm going to be refilming the mid-year freakout and answering all the questions. And I am promising to drop it by Thursday, July 21st. So if it is not dropped by Thursday, July 21st, you can all beat me up on Twitter. But yes, Thursday, July 21st, the second part of this video will come out. I'm going to be redoing the questions and answering it for you guys. But yeah. That's the end of this video. So this video kind of changed course on what it was supposed to be, but it was still really fun. I had fun editing it. Thank you guys. And let me pass it off to the outro and the ending clips. Bye-bye. Okay. No, that's my tits.